The Emerald Tablets and the ET Alien Colonization Antiquity, Atlantean Technology. The Emerald Tablets, we know, were written supposedly by Thoth, Trismegistus, the Atlantean, and I have a playlist of the Emerald Tablets for you to listen to. They had tremendous technology. They had interstellar travel. They even had interdimensional travel. Now, how many of you have heard of the 12 Emerald Tablets of Antiquity, and how many fewer have knowledge of the forbidden tales preserved engraved on the surface of these tablets? Stories that today's archaeologists refer to as mythology and legends, unacceptable for translation and narration. The legend that has been translated into our days and tells that Thoth the Atlantean, the king priest of the mythical Atlantis, was the one who founded the first colony of the lost continent of the land of Kem, Egypt, and ruled it for 16,000 years, approximately from 50,000 to 36,000 BC, transcending earthly death, and his great wisdom and fame spread beyond the African continent to South and Central America. When the time came for him to leave Egypt, he erected the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops, over the entrance to the great halls of Amenthus. He placed his records there and appointed highly evolved members of his clan as keepers and of the secrets. The descendants of the guardians became priests of the pyramid, while Thoth was deified by those who lived through the Dark Ages after his passing. It's said that his last incarnation he became known as Hermes Trismegistus, the best-known god in all developed societies of antiquity, at which point he engraved the 12 texts of the Emerald Tablets we know as the Emerald Tablets, a later but smaller exposition of the ancient mysteries originally kept by the priests of the Great Pyramid. Characteristically, the words of the 4th and 8th panel leads the reader today to realize that the conventional story told to us by historiographers is the quiet surface of a lake full of treasures of alien colonists, and below are some quotes for you to understand what I mean and what they're hiding from us. Quote, "To you, O man, I offer my knowledge. To you I offer the light. Hear now and receive my wisdom, which has come from the realms of space above and beyond. I do not resemble man because I have been freed from the dimensions and from the fields. In each one I get a new body, and in each I change my form. Now I know that form is nothing but the formless. Long before Atlantis existed, where people who probed in the dark, using dark magic, summoned beings from the great depth beneath us, these beings came in this circle. They were formless, of another vibration, and invisible to the children of earth men. Only by blood could they live in this world. In ages past, they had been subdued by the masters and driven down to the place from which they had come. However, some remained, hidden in places and fields unknown to men. They lived in Atlantis as shadows, but sometimes appeared among people. This was mostly done when they were offered blood, so they moved among us in human form, but they were human only in appearance. When the illusion they created was dispelled, one could see that they had the head of a snake. Yet they appeared to man as men. Little by little, they infiltrated the councils, taking human forms. With their arts, they killed the heads of the kingdoms, they took their forms and dominated people. However, they knew that the masters were also strong in magic. They could lift the veil from the serpent's face and send it back to its place. They quickly lifted the veil from the serpent and drove it out of the place of men." End quote. But how were the Emerald Tablets and their secrets saved until today? Around 1300 BC in Egypt, the ancient Kem were in turmoil, and many delegations of priests were sent to other parts of the world. Among them were some of the priests of the pyramids who carried with them emerald tablets as talismans by which they could exercise authority over the less developed priests of the tribes who came from other Atlantean colonies. The particular group of priests who brought the tablets migrated to South America, where they found a thriving tribe, the Maya, who remembered much of the ancient wisdom. The priests settled among themselves, and by the 10th century, the Maya had completely settled in the Yucatan, and the tablets had been placed under the altar of the great temples of the sun god. After the conquest of the Maya by the Spanish, the cities were abandoned, and the treasures of the temples were forgotten. Since then, few scholars of the 16th and 17th centuries dealt with the subject. Johann Trithemius, 1506, Chrysogonos Polydoros, 1541, Henrik Kunrath, 1606, Zetzner's heirs, 1661, Isaac Newton, 17th century AD, and a few translated manuscripts, drawings, and representations survive, and especially for the traveling tablets in Europe. Also, a historical event that historicals were also the fragmentary translations of the Macedonian John Stobius in the 5th century AD. Stobius worked a lot with an emerald tablet of Trismegistus, translations that we find in excerpts of his 4-volume book entitled Anthology, in which left to his son Septimus. There are 17 chapters, 4 dialogues, and 22 teachings dealing with the ancient wisdom recounted in the tablets. The pre-existing being is superior to all the beings of the universe. It is a primary being, thanks to which the essence, the so-called universal, is understood as the common property of the actual beings and the beings that understand themselves. The opposite beings that exist in themselves are nature, which is a sensible substance and which contains in its being all feelings. Among the senses are the noumenal and the sensible gods, the partakers of the noumenal beings and the praisers who communicate with the noumenal gods, according to Stobaeus 1:41 and 11. Early in the 19th century, the author of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, A.S. Raleigh, who is associated with the Great White Lodge, was directed to find and return the Great Pyramid to the Great Pyramid, these ancient tablets. Before they were returned, permission was given to be translated and to preserve a copy of the wisdom that was engraved upon them, and this was done in 1925, and only in 2000 was permission given to publish a part of them in a book. According to Raleigh, the so-called emerald tablets were not actually emeralds, but made of a substance unknown to man. They are indestructible and resist all elements and substances. Their atomic and molecular structure is stable and does not undergo any change. Thus, they violate the material laws of ionization. The tablets are bound together by rings of a painted gold alloy suspended from a rod of the same material. The wisdom they contain is the foundation of the ancient mysteries in the ancient language of Atlantis. I should point out here that although the original paintings have not been seen publicly, the translations by Dr. Raleigh does not mean that they are untrue, because other researchers of his time, such as Elena Blavatsky and Sire, presented similar reports, also publishing their historicity back 40,000 years. And this is the completion of research by Harris Goutsiaftas of 2016. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.